Welcome to the Elevating La Cultura podcast, a space where I talk with Latinas who are passionate about what they do and are willing to share that passion with others to change the narrative, especially for the next generation. Each season is centered around different topics, but all with the Latina perspective. Welcome as we continue with season 12 with a focus on women's health. It's going to be a great season, so let's get into it. Susie Gómez-Ortega is a Mexican-American woman, mother, and survivor of relationship loss and recovery. As relational therapist and founder of Connection and Belonging Therapy, she draws on over 20 years of clinical experience to help men and women heal attachment wounds and return to themselves through relational self-awareness. Her work is rooted in authenticity, compassion, and the belief that deep connection is the path to healing and belonging. Enjoy our conversation. Hey, I am so excited to be here with Susie today as one of the first guests of season 12. And I am excited to get into this whole season as talking about women's health in general, but especially talking to Susie. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Karina. Yes, I'm Susie Ortega. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I identify as Mexican American, she, her pronouns, and I am a private practitioner. I have been operating Connection and Belonging Therapy for the last 4 years, specializing in relational therapy. So, working with couples and individuals because we are relational beings, helping anyone heal relationship injuries, connect with themselves on a deeper level, or their chosen others on a more emotionally intimate level. And it's been quite the journey. I'm really excited to be here and talk about my work a little bit more with you and your audience.
Yeah, I think it's I always appreciate when I can have a more inside perspective because as I've always been an advocate for mental health and talking to someone and making sure you advocate for yourself and your needs. But it also starts with just an understanding and just the permission to allow ourselves to get to that place and to allow ourselves to heal. And a lot of times it takes a while for us to get there and to accept that we might need some help and that we are worthy of getting help. So I'd love to know what got you started in this direction in the first place.
That's an awesome question. I haven't had to speak on that in a minute. Where I go to immediately is just in my 20 years. It's crazy to say that, but I've been out of school for that long. I have a bachelor's and a master's in social work, and it's clinical work that I've done. I think about all the workshops and colleagues and mentors that I've had throughout time, and we all say that we're called to this work for a reason. And this phrase of being a wounded healer really resonates with me. I got into social work specifically after a personal, pretty traumatic family event. And once I took that first, it was the loss of my brother. I won't keep it mysterious or anything. But we lost my younger brother in a car accident due to a drunk driver. Had to take some time off of work. Off of school. I was in the psychology program. So after a year and a half, that accident happened, took some time off, and then jumped into the social work program at Loyola, I remember. And I took that first social work class and I'm like, whoa, this describes me, right? This idea of being a professional helper, and doing the courses, understanding myself. So this concept of know thyself is really big in the social work profession. And it really allowed me to understand why I was moved towards being a helping professional. All of my life experiences leading up to, that the most significant one of the loss of my brother. And as life happens, I am solidified and validated in this work after 20 years that this is more of a calling for me than a profession. Given my personal history and loss and trauma, chronic illness, even, I connect with my clients on a unique level, for good, obviously. It's hard to recognize my personal hardships, and also it empowers me because I do learn from my clients as much as I'm able to help them with my clinical skills and background. Um, Learning how to disclose in sessions is something that my profession has really helped me do, and I see the impact. And more so today, more so than ever, I am just so empowered and inspired and validated that this is the time to get personal, get real and raw, and really, like I said, empower people to ask for help and do the work. Given just how divided we feel in our communities and our societies, I believe that if we are able to connect with our loved ones, especially the people that we live with, for God's sakes, in a healthy way, in a meaningful way. Households are the building blocks of communities, building blocks of society, and the nation at large. And so I'm very I'm inspired by my clients, but I also know that I bring my personal story, and while it's hard, it's what makes me a good clinician. And so I don't take my work lightly.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing your journey and your story. And I too have been out of school for 20 years, and it's so hard for me to like even like accept that. But I
Yeah.
feel like even in adulthood, I've evolved as a person, as a mother, as a just a person, like a community builder. And realizing that I wanted to do the work that I'm doing, I knew that I needed to go to therapy and I needed to like heal some things in my past relationships. And it wasn't until then that I realized how much we actually carry as Latinas that is like invisible labor and untold stories, and so much that we carry from our cultural, like generational background. And it's just it could be a lot, and so I always advocate for people to do that work in partnership with someone who can help process those in a healthy way. So how was it in your studies? And so I'm thinking of anyone who is listening that might be thinking about maybe doing more in the space and
Mhm.
wanting to learn more so that they could also be therapists or helpers in their community. Um, how is that process for you in going to school, and like specifically around being able to balance your own story with the work that you do now? And that might be like a
Another,
loaded
yeah.
question, but yeah.
No, but I think it's good timing for me, at least. I think it's good timing. I'm transparent. That's what I consistently provide my clients. And I tell them all the time. Consistency allows our nervous system to settle, and that's how trust is built, right? And so again, I don't take my role lightly in, just the privilege that I have to meet people in such vulnerable, sacred times in their lives, hard times in their lives, and that they open up and share things that maybe I'm the first one they've ever shared with. So in 20 years, and my profession has been the constant thing in my life, believe it or not, and I love saying that. Through hardship, loss, joy and all, it's been my profession. And so looking back, what I know helped me was not be afraid to tell hard stories, to name hard truths. And for whatever reason, that's just what I've done. And interestingly enough, being a Latina, being, born here, parents immigrated from Mexico, large family, all the things. This idea of being bicultural really stands out for me, as the first thing that I needed to learn how to navigate in order to be quote unquote successful in my career. I always believed in doing good work. That's what my parents taught me, right? Work ethic, what you do, make sure you do it well, make sure you're proud of what you do. And so I invested in myself, getting a bachelor's and a master's in social work, and climbing the ladder, if you will, not coming into this profession with the myth that, oh, we don't do it for the money kind of thing, right? I felt competent. I felt capable to help, and not just this temporary thing, but truly, right, soul searching and helping individuals identify patterns and make transformations in their life. And looking back, I feel really proud that that I've done that, right? And my business and my clients reaffirmed that, and I'm so grateful, which is why I'm here, taking advantage of these opportunities to speak more openly about my work, because therapy really can change lives. Our brains are malleable, right? They can change shape. So you may not have gotten a good start in life, if you will. With the right support, we can rewire the brain, and change is possible on a behavioral level. So the way that I have gotten to a balance, personal with professional, is having to unlearn some of that. Academia is very much, in the head, right? You think your theories and boundaries, you don't share your personal stuff. You're a clinician and it's book smart. And for many years, I did keep a lot of my personal stuff out, and for good, because I was, again, life happens, and trials and mistakes in life, and losses and challenges. And so it was good to be able to compartmentalize my personal life and just focus on my career and how passionate I was with investing in myself so I could deliver quality mental health in Spanish. That helped me at the beginning of my career because there wasn't many of us, and still, but being able to do therapy in Spanish is what got me far, and I'm grateful for that, and to my parents, right, for instilling that in me. So I was able to get really good experience, and eventually, I'll be very honest, this is relatively new in the last maybe 5 years, where I realized that being separating, right? Like, I'm a clinician here, a therapist, and then this woman over here was actually not serving me as a human, and it was limiting me, and it was taxing on my body, on my emotional and mental health, because we are a whole human. We are not just a brain. And through and after the pandemic, I mean, my colleagues and I, we didn't go to school to do therapy, telehealth through a global pandemic, while we ourselves were experiencing the impact of a global pandemic. And I'm just so proud, right, that we did fantastic and survived, and have even greater skills and competencies as a result. So I say that because that was the catalyst to humanize myself. And even my own therapist reminds me of that often, and I'm grateful that I am a human first and then a therapist. Specifically with the current work that I do, relational therapy, I had to recognize, and let me backtrack. It's therapy from an emotionally focused lens. So this is a very specific clinical model. It's short term, it's considered short term therapy. It's rooted in attachment theory that basically says, as a species, we're wired for connection. Hence the name of my practice, connection and belonging. We all want to be in community, in relationship with others, and not just, yes, I'm part of this group or I'm part of this relationship, but this idea of coming as we are and being able to be accepted as we are, perfectly imperfect, solidifies this idea of belonging, right? I can come as my true self. So when I started training in this model during the pandemic, it was this eye-opening moment for me where the grief process of recognizing, whoa, I lack, I've lacked true connection and belonging, right? This idea of secure attachment, um, from early on for different reasons, and that in my current relationship with my children's father, that was still compromised, and so it was hard, but again, always I'm grateful because it's this learning of self, this uh, like you said earlier, in that giving myself permission to look within and recognize my needs as a human and how I could grow and heal and be even better, um, more prepared to hold similar stories of my clients and inspire, guide, and model what it looks like to alchemize, right? I love that word. So after 17 years of marriage, I decided to leave the relationship with my kid's father. And I think that was the last level of my transformation where I said, I mean, I even think about that first session after I was officially out of the house. It was almost like this out of body experience. Never gonna forget that client. It's like, damn, you got the raw and real, Susie. Some hard shit just happened, but it was powerful, right? And I said, this is my authentic self. This is me. And since then, I've immersed myself in, therapy, right? Never doing this work alone. If there's a takeaway from today's episode, is this is hard work, and healing is not for everyone. That idea of looking within can be very scary and traumatic. And as a therapist, right, I had a story to tell, and I've been able to tell it through in different ways. And I'm grateful for my clients who allow me to humanize myself and recognize that healing is available to anyone who's ready to look within and do the hard work. And my journey was, why did I stay so long in a relationship that wasn't serving me, that wasn't allowing my growth and healing, but rather the re-experiencing of less than ideal attachment. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. The clarity of self builds the confidence to make necessary and sometimes hard choices. On the other side, me being on the other side of it, I wouldn't want it any other way. How I feel today as a woman, as a therapist, as a mother, as a human in today's difficult world is grounded, confident, and deserving of all that is to come. So that is the energy that I now add to my clinical work, and I see my clients get even more benefit. So yeah, that's that's what it is.
That's amazing. I think that there's so many people that are, especially after uh, the whole pandemic in 2020, I feel like since well, in the past 5 years, I've seen more people being intentional about that healing part and that growth,
Yes.
because that we were isolated for a long time, and during that
Mhm.
time, um, a lot came up, like within our own beings, within family, and it was
Yes.
just a lot to handle. And I think that's when I saw more people setting boundaries with families. And
Yeah.
um, no one prepares you for doing that, or
Mm-mm.
understanding the toll it's going to take when you're trying to make generational change. And it's a
Yeah.
lot. And it is work, and it's an ever lasting journey. I think even like in 2025, I'm still doing a lot of work and being intentional about communicating and setting boundaries. And I know that I'll probably be doing that for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But I think
Mhm.
it's that intentionality for us to be doing that, so that way we can model that to the next generation. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this idea of like, the work allows us to inspire the generation ahead of us, right? My children, my children's children, but also I've seen, that we can kind of tap the generation before us, right? So I think about my parents, who they themselves are survivors of trauma for different reasons, right? And, um, that healing hasn't touched them in the same way that it's touched me, and yet my healing, I know, has touched them um, through intentional boundaries and conversations, or lack of, right? Intentionally not having conversations at times is the way to protect yourself and inspire that generation, I believe, um, for sure. So no matter where you are in healing, and I'll tell you this, Karina, because I tell my clients a lot, now as a clinician, right? I have my competitor is Instagram and life coaches and self-help things, right, that we have access to. This idea of healing is not, I would hate people to think that you have to identify as like being broken, or there's something wrong with you, and so we have to heal, right? Like a wound, you're broken, a bone breaks, or what have you. It's We all have something. We all have something. The definition of trauma is not that something bad or hard has happened to you, but rather that you endured hardship and you were alone. You had no one to talk about it with, to process it, to share with, right? Not that it was going to fix it, but think back to what I said in terms of connection, belonging. We're wired for connection. And the emotionally focused model, which is why I love working with couples, says that when we are with our safe other and there's hardship, and we just thinking about our safe other, and there's brain studies that confirm this, just thinking about our safe other doesn't allow the brain to go into that fight or flight mode. Isn't that beautiful? So, like, they studied couples before couples therapy, and after couples therapy. And one of them goes into an MRI machine, and they get a countdown, and they're going to get a little zap or whatever. And so before, there's obviously the pain, the anticipation of the zap, The nurse comes, holds their hand, nothing happens, brain lights up, danger, danger, very understandable. So then they come back after couples therapy, after having very specific bonding conversations and healing conversations. They do the same MRI experience, and just thinking about their partner. Literally, the brain image doesn't have evidence of them going into fight or flight. And when they feel the zap, whatever, the shock, they report it less painful than the first go around. And that's consistent, one couple after another. So proving that we are relational beings and that we truly do need safe and secure attachment or safe and secure relationships, which I think is a term that all of us can understand. A friendship is a relationship, the relationship with a mentor, a peer, that level of intimacy, that emotional intimacy that you can experience when the relationship is reciprocal, right? Not just a one-way street, where the relationship does offer consistency and accountability, and that there's communication, and that when you reach for your safe other, that they're accessible, that they reach back, and that they stay through the hard conversation or the hard whatever moment. That's what helps soothe, literally, our nervous systems and allows us to, get through whatever hard experience. So I want everybody to take a breath because there's, again, a lot more information. Our nervous systems are not set to have all this information. And yes, after the pandemic, we're all struggling. It's going to be fine. Sometimes it's actually not okay if we're not dysregulated, if you will, right? Our emotions, they're telling us something. We're wired for survival, and it's normal to be, if you will, dysregulated because of a given situation. So this idea of like healing and being zen all the time is not, it's not the goal. And so whatever has happened, right, whatever would bring you to a therapist, um, is what I tell my clients is the best investment that you can make for yourself and the relationships that you are involved in, an investment. And I think that is the best way that I can motivate anyone, right? We invest in things that we find a value, that are good for us. And so thinking about ourselves, our humanity, investing in learning what has happened to me, how have my previous relationships, even starting with like whoever raised us, right? Our very first experience in an intimate relationship was with whoever raised us. So a lot of my work is dealing with adults and going back to that very first relationship, and a lot of things come up. And it's not to bash parents or, shut people out of your life. It's to empower you. This is about your story. I'm not a therapist that talks about pathology, that pathologizes, but rather, I want to know what has happened to you. All behavior can be explained. And so um, we slow things down, we look back, we have hard heart to heart conversations, and in so doing, the quote unquote healing process can be witnessed, where now this individual has clarity of self. They have a cohesive narrative, right? It's a book cover to cover, and there's different chapters, and you start creating space from distance from the things that have happened to you, and they're no longer as triggering because we can tell our story over and over and as often as we need to, and feel more power over our story versus trying to force things. Um, so is it work? Yes. Should you feel like you're going to be in therapy for a certain amount of time and then that's it, you pass the test and it's done. No, therapy is one way to heal. I've been therapy in like the traditional sense of like you go into someone's office and you sit on the couch and you talk, right? There's so many different ways to heal because there's so many ways to tell our story. I lean into the arts. You talked about being a photographer before we started recording, and I think it's beautiful. Dancing, moving our bodies, right? Recognizing that emotions and trauma live in the body because, like I said earlier, we're a whole person. It's not just a mind or a heart or a body, but rather everything. And it's a beautiful orchestration and communication of being. So learning how to connect with others, but specifically for and first with yourself is truly something that we can all benefit from learning how to do. Um, Being intentional on, do I really know? Am I really connected with myself in a way that allows me to feel proud, inspired, and authentic? And then everyone else around us, right? I offer couples that I work with bonding experiences, I call them, and titled Art of Connection, right? Really recognizing that relationships have changed over time and we do need to level up our relationship skills. And so learning the art of connection through like salsa dancing, I've done mixology, right? Using our senses and preparing mocktails, photography too, where individuals get exposed to these art forms as a way to do therapy, which is expressing themselves. You don't just need to go and talk to someone. Sometimes they don't have language for it. Men, especially, right? I have a group for men that I'm offering the second one in at the end of August because I realize the need that therapy, again, in the traditional sense, is hard and it's not for everyone. It is hard work, all the things I just said. And so don't shy away from therapy. Find a therapist or a group that can expose you to maybe other ways to revisit your story, to tell your story, claim your story, and start this healing journey, if you will.
I think growing up, like, it was so easy for people to put everyone in boxes and saying, like, oh, well, you're artistic and you're a writer and you are going to do great in STEM. And as I've grown up in adulthood, I've realized how multifaceted we all are. And it's not just like, oh, well, I'm not creative, so I can't do that stuff. Let me just stick to the things that I know. Or like, oh, well, I'm a photographer, so that's what I should stick to. And I shouldn't like venture out because I'm not as good as someone else might be in, like, I don't know, pottery, embroidery, all those things. But even as I've gone back and visited Mexico and learned how creative our people were, and the many art forms that were like that are in our lineage, in our roots, like, I am so encouraged to, even though I have like a career, I have kids, like, I can start learning something now, like even learning how to dance salsa, and it's not too late. And I think that's something that I try to remind myself, and then also tell people, like, oh no, it's not too late. You can try all the things. And if you were never like encouraged to be creative, like, just try it, go to a class. So I love that you say that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I'm seeing it more and more, right? I mean, I've definitely taken advantage of it. Like just people, influencers offering these experiences, right? And because we're craving connection, Karina. The research shows that we were actually facing um, this a critical time of isolation, like loneliness before the pandemic. And what initiated it was technology, right? Having access to a phone and just being glued to our phone. That's what initiated this epidemic of loneliness, they call it. And then the pandemic came and just like, I mean, completely sent us past the edge and beyond. And so, as a society, we are very much lacking relationship skills, and we are disconnected from ourselves ever more, and each other, right? I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying we're not okay. So yeah, the being able to, and again, this is why as a clinician, I am modeling as well as educating our comunidad, right? I see a lot of young parents raising bicultural children, and trying to break generational trauma, stay connected with family of origin, but doing it in a healthy way. It's, my God, it's so much. And while trying to heal themselves, like there's nothing harder than trying to reparent your inner child while also parenting your own children. So I have a lot of empathy for parents. I also, luckily, this is part of the investment in myself, right? As a clinician, I'm a certified perinatal mental health counselor as well. So a big bulk of my clinical experience was working in a program for postpartum depression and anxiety, and helping new parents and transitioning parents know about perinatal mental health, how to prevent it, how to treat it. And that's something, that our culture, we say, there's memes about it. You go, oh, mom, I'm depressed, or mom, dad, la abuela says, ay, sácate de aquí, ¿qué es eso de la depresión? Go clean something, right? And we can make fun and laugh, and yet, there's science, and having done the work, working with this population still today, having experienced postpartum depression myself with my 3 pregnancies, I know that it's real, that it's a real thing, and it can absolutely worsen and damage, if left untreated, the connection between the mom and the dad, the mom and the extended family, and more importantly, the mom and that newborn. So research shows that infant mom infant bond can be compromised if depression is, and any type of the mood disorders, if left untreated, and if it's severe enough, right? And imagínate, o sea, that is our first intimate relationship. And if your mom is not able to connect with you, not making eye contact, right? We see these children lacking oxytocin, which is the love hormone, the feel good hormone that we are literally making when maybe we're nursing with our parent and they're looking at us with the goo goo gaga eyes. That is literally the process, right? That's what kicks off the oxytocin in the brain. And so I've worked with many adults who come in to, again, do the work and realize, whoa, I'm a child of rape, right? I'm an unplanned pregnancy. My parents, didn't love each other. And so, so you think about what has happened to this person. And then when they get to adulthood, then you understand why they're struggling and connecting emotionally or any way with their chosen other, right? Or with their own children, with themselves even, because of these things that have happened, like real things. And another thing that I'll say, when you're talking about creativity and it's never too late, why healing is, why I promote healing is, sometimes what I find, I work with a lot of high performing women, these are some baddies, some hyper independent, successful women that come into my office and, disclose, I feel lonely. I feel disconnected. What's wrong with me, right? And again, doing the work, looking within, slowing things down, telling their story out loud. Over time, they realize again that there was a less than ideal connection along the way with a primary caregiver, and maybe they got into a relationship or two that reinforced, not being good enough or feeling like they had to prove their worth. And so it's exhausting because, again, the ideal is I'm connected and I can come as my true self, perfectly imperfect. So the point being that, when you have these people in categories, like, yeah, we can adapt as a species, we figure it out. Over time, though, you get to a point in your life, and this is where a lot of clients come into therapy, just it's not working well anymore, right? These adaptations or behaviors, ways of thinking, ways of connecting and relating to others, they no longer serve them. And then that's when they come into therapy. But all that to say that it's not all bad. Whatever you find in there, whatever adaptations or things that you've developed, these are successful women. They're great mothers and fathers. I just say you need at least one place, though, where you can come as your true self, where you don't have to wear the mask, where you don't have to perform. And so that's the work, right? It's understanding, why do I stay in relationships maybe that force me to self-sacrifice, force me to stay in fight or flight or fix, right? When we're able to come out of that stage, so it's fight or flight, or rest and digest, feed and breed. So the other type of the other level of our nervous system, it's and I don't have to get all scientific, but it's sympathetic and parasympathetic. So the sympathetic is where it's fight or flight, parasympathetic is rest and digest. We're supposed to, experience something, we go into protecting ourselves, we fight, flee, or fix, and then we're supposed to come down, right? Then the danger is over, and then we can go rest and digest, feed and breed. But a lot of us, we get stuck in fight, flight, fix for decades, for generations to come. And my point of all this, Karina, is to enlighten us that we want to get to a place where we are moving towards rest and digest, feed and breed, because in that place we have great access to the other parts of our brain, specifically the part that allows us to be creative, adventurous, and sensual. I say that a lot to my couples that feel like just life gets boring, this myth that, the sparks in a relationship fade, especially after kids. And I said, no, no, no. It's actually the opposite, right? When we do the work, when we're relating to one another in a healthy way, when we finally heal and know that we are with our safe other, we are even more creative, adventurous, sensual, and sex can get even better because now you're more daring. You don't have to think about survival anymore. That's the point. When we don't have to think about our survival, when we're not working so hard to keep the mask on, whatever it is, we can be, period. Just be. And that's when we access, all of those other things. So if you're having a hard time with enjoying or tapping into creativity, I would definitely recommend having a conversation. Like I said, I offer different ways that individuals can start their healing journey through groups. I have intentional book clubs that open up conversations around healing and self-discovery and all of that. And I would say absolutely go out there And social dancing has been a big part of my healing journey, recognizing that I had to leave something that I was passionate about, which was music and dancing. My mom was one of 14 kids, and siempre los bailes, right? No necesitamos excusa to have a party. And the tío busting out with the cumbias, like music, and there's a singer-songwriter in my family, which we're all very proud of. And that idea of like poetry and romanticism, we're very proud of that. And as a clinician today, I highlight that because it helps me connect with my community, with my family, with my community. And it reminds me that I have a story and that it's not all bad. And I choose to pull these things with me. And now that I'm not limited by who I'm in relationship with, I'm in relationship with myself, and I'm reconnecting with la música, el baile, and believe it or not, poetry writing. There's just something about me being me where I say my soul speaks in rhyme, and I'm so happy that I get to reconnect with that skill. And so it can be anything and all. You don't have to go to art school, just to try a different way to express yourself, to tell your story, to experience being.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to like end our episode. Like just encouragement to just be. I love
Yes.
that.
We
Where
are
can
so
people
worthy.
find you and connect with you? Because I hope that more people like who are listening will be inspired by everything that you've said. So yeah, share where they can connect with you.
I would love to. My practice is, again, connection and belonging therapy. Recently put out an Instagram page, Connection and Belonging Therapy. cb-therapy.com is my website. There's a contact form there where you can shoot me an email, and yeah, let's connect. Let's talk about what you're ready to talk about. Hold space in different ways because we all are worthy to be heard and to be.
So good. Perfect. All right. And then before we leave, I always ask my guests to share some encouragement or advice for the next generation.
That would definitely be to take accountability for the energy that we bring into the spaces that we choose to be a part of. That would be the best advice that I can give today to the next generation. And I tell this to my children too. That's part of the work. Take accountability for the energy you bring into the spaces you choose to be a part of.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. I'm so thankful for your time and just your willingness to share openly. I think it is, I am just so moved by your story and your words. I think
I
that,
appreciate the opportunity, Karina. Thank you so much. Yeah.
yeah, and I hope my audience is also encouraged in their journey to focus on themselves and give themselves permission to be whatever that may look like.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I hope to meet you in person soon.
Oh my gosh, me too. I love those in-person connections. Más rico un abrazo,
Yeah.
un hello, and in persona makes all the difference. I look forward to it too, Karina. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, amigas, thank you so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast so we can get more ears listening to these stories and we can continue elevating la cultura. You can also comment on our YouTube video if you're watching online. I always like to hear from people and how they resonate with the stories that I share. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening, y nos vemos next week. Bye.